Commander Velka stared at the warning lights flashing across her control panel. Each red light meant another system failing on the colony ship times, gentle current asterisk. The massive vessel shook again, throwing several crew members against the walls. Report, Velka called to her chief engineer. Main engine is dead, Kinda replied, his forearms moving quickly over the repair controls. Secondary engines are failing too. We have maybe 6 hours before total power loss. Velka felt her heart sink. The times, gentle, current times carried 50,000 Zephyrian civilians to their new homeworld. Families with children, elderly people who had saved their whole lives for this journey. Scientists and teachers and farmers who wanted to start fresh on a new planet. Now they were all going to die in empty space. Send a distress signal, Velka ordered. All frequencies. Someone has to hear us. Commander, her communications officer, Tima, said quietly. We are at the edge of known space. The nearest Zephyrian ship is months away. Then we pray someone else finds us first. Tima's tentacles moved over her controls. The distress signal went out in the old galactic common language that most spacefaring species understood. It was a simple message. Colony ship in distress. 50,000 civilians aboard. Engines failing. Please help. Hours passed. The ship grew colder as power systems failed one by one. Velka watched families huddle together in the passenger areas. Parents held their children close and sang soft songs to keep them calm. Everyone knew they were in terrible danger. Commander, Tima suddenly called out. I'm getting something on the scanners. Velka rushed to the sensor station. Her eyes went wide. 12 massive ships were approaching fast. Much faster than any Zephyrian vessel could travel. Can you identify them? Velka asked. Tima worked her controls, trying to get a clear reading. The ships are huge. Much bigger than ours. I'm reading heavy armor and weapon systems. Wait. I'm getting ship identification codes now. The bridge fell silent as the information appeared on their screens. Velka read the words and felt all 4 of her hearts stop beating. Terran ships, she whispered. The Dreadworlder fleet. Every crew member turned to look at their commander. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Dreadworlder fleet. Humans from Earth. The legendary death world that created the most feared warriors in known space. Stories spread through every spaceport about human brutality. How they conquered entire star systems. How they showed no mercy to anyone who got in their way. Commander, Kinda said in a shaking voice. Should we prepare for boarding? Velka looked at the tactical display. The human ships were massive, dark hulls covered with weapon ports. Each ship was big enough to destroy the times, gentle current times with a single blast. And there were 12 of them. They answered our distress call. She said finally. Maybe they will be quick about it. Quick about what? Asked Tima. About killing us all. The youngest officer on the bridge, Naka, started crying. She was barely old enough for space duty, and now she was going to die at the hands of the most feared species in the galaxy. Commander, Tima said. The human ships are requesting communication. Velka straightened her uniform. If she was going to face the infamous human warriors, she would do it with dignity. Put them through. End. Tark. End. The main screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. Velka had never seen a human before. The creature had only 2 eyes, strange, flat features, and pale skin. But what surprised her most was that it did not look angry or cruel. This is Admiral Lee Minjun of the United Earth Ship Times, Compassionate Thunder Asterisk, the human said. His voice was calm and steady. We received your distress call. What is your situation? Velka found her voice. I am Commander Velka of the Zephyrian colony ship Times Gentle Current Asterisk. Our engines have failed. We have 50,000 civilians aboard. Understood, Commander. We are moving to assist. Prepare to receive our rescue teams. The connection ended. Velka stared at the blank screen. Rescue teams? Naka asked. It must be some kind of trick, Kinda said. Everyone knows humans take prisoners for their slave markets. But Velka noticed something strange. The human had introduced himself with a rank and ship name, just like any professional military officer would. His ship was called Time's Compassionate Thunder **. That was not the name she would expect from bloodthirsty pirates. Tima, monitor their approach. Tell me if they power weapons. Minutes crawled by. The human fleet moved closer to the disabled colony ship. Velka watched the sensors, waiting for the humans to reveal their true purpose. Commander, Tima said with confusion in her voice. The human ships are not powering weapons. They are deploying medical shuttles. Medical shuttles? Yes, Commander. And supply ships, and what looks like engineering vessels. Velka moved to the sensor station herself. The tactical display showed the human fleet arranging itself around the Time's gentle, current times in what looked like a protective formation. Small ships launched from the larger vessels, not fighters or assault craft. Hospital ships, marked with the universal symbol for medical aid. Commander, the communication system crackled to life again. This is Captain Kim Hae-jin of the UES Times Healing Hand **. We have medical teams standing by. Do you have wounded who need immediate care? Velka looked around her bridge. Her crew stared back at her with the same confused expression she felt on her own face. The most feared warriors in the galaxy were offering medical help. We have some injured from the engine explosions, Velka replied. Understood. Requesting permission to dock medical shuttle in your main bay. Our teams are ready to assist. Velka had to make a choice. Let the humans board her ship, or watch 50,000 civilians die in the cold of space. Permission granted, she said. As the human medical shuttle approached their ship, Velka wondered if she had just saved her people or doomed them all to something worse than death. Admiral Lee Min-jun stood on the bridge of the Time's Compassionate Thunder Times and watched his fleet move into rescue formation. 12 years of commanding the Terran Deep Space Rescue Fleet had taught him that every emergency was different. But the basics never changed. Get there fast. Assess the situation. Save lives. Admiral, his communications officer reported. The Zephyrian ship has 50,000 civilians. Main engines are dead. Secondary systems failing. Time until total system failure? Lee Min-jun asked. 4 hours. Maybe less. The Admiral nodded. 4 hours to evacuate 50,000 people if needed. It would be tight, but possible. Signal all ships. Full rescue deployment. Medical teams to the Time's Healing Hand **. Engineering teams to the Time's Gentle Builder **. Supply coordination through the Times. Helping Hope **. Yes, sir. Lee Min-jun had been heading to a diplomatic meeting when the distress signal reached them. The meeting would have to wait. Rule number 1 of the Deep Space Rescue Fleet. Every distress call gets answered. No exceptions. On the engineering ship Time's Gentle Builder **, Chief Engineer Park So-young checked her equipment one more time. 27 years of fixing broken ships in impossible situations. She had worked on Centauri mining platforms, Martian cargo haulers, and even alien vessels from a dozen different species. Park, you ready? Asked her assistant, Lieutenant Kim Dong-min. Always ready, Park So-young replied. What do we know about Zephyrian technology? Similar to our fusion systems, but they use crystalline power cores instead of magnetic containment. Interesting. Should be fixable. Park So-young believed that everything was fixable. You just had to understand how it worked and have the right tools. And if you didn't have the right tools, you made them. Meanwhile, on the medical ship Time's Healing Hand **, Dr. Choi Jae-ho prepared his trauma teams. He had never treated Zephyrians before, but he had studied their biology. 4 hearts, distributed nervous system, natural resistance to radiation. They were actually quite hardy compared to humans. "Doctor," his head nurse asked, "should we prepare quarantine procedures?" "No," Dr. Choi Jae-ho said firmly. They called for help. "We help first, ask questions later." This was the philosophy that guided the entire human rescue fleet. Help first. Everything else could wait. Captain Kim Hae-jin piloted her medical shuttle toward the massive Zephyrian colony ship. She could see the damage through the viewports. Hull breaches sealed with emergency patches. Scorch marks from internal explosions. The ship was in bad shape, but it was still holding together. "Medical Team Alpha, prepare for immediate deployment," she announced to her crew. Behind the Zephyrian ship, the human fleet spread out in a protective formation, not to trap the colony ship, but to shield it from any dangers that might approach while they worked. Inside the Times, Gentle Current *, Commander Velka watched the human medical shuttle dock in their main bay. Her security team stood ready, but she had ordered them to keep their weapons lowered. If the humans wanted to take the ship by force, they had enough firepower to blast through the hull. There was no point in pretending they could resist. "Commander," her security chief Rakda said quietly, "my teams are in position. Tell them to stand down," Velka ordered. "If the humans wanted us dead, we would already be dead." The airlock cycled. Velka held her breath. The first humans to board their ship would either be their salvation or their doom. The airlock opened. Captain Kim Hae-jin stepped through, followed by her medical team. She was smaller than Velka expected. All the stories described humans as giants, but this one barely reached Velka's shoulder. She wore a blue uniform with medical symbols, and she carried no visible weapons. "Commander Velka?" Kim Hae-jin asked, in perfect Zephyrian language. "Yes, I am Velka. I am Captain Kim Hae-jin, Chief Medical Officer. We are here to help. Where are your wounded?" Velka stared at the human woman. She had expected demands for surrender, threats, negotiations for tribute. Instead, the first words from the feared Dreadworlder were asking about injured people. "This way," Velka said, leading them through the ship's corridors. The human medical team followed, carrying equipment Velka didn't recognize. They passed through passenger areas where Zephyrian families huddled together in fear. Children hid behind their parents when they saw the strange alien creatures. But Dr. Choi Jae-ho stopped when he saw a small Zephyrian child crying in her mother's arms. He knelt down and spoke softly in simple Zephyrian. "Hello, little one. Are you hurt?" The child stopped crying and stared at him with wide eyes. The human had a gentle voice and kind eyes. He reached into his medical bag and pulled out a small toy, a soft, stuffed animal from Earth. "This is for you," he said, offering the toy to the child. The little girl took the stuffed animal and hugged it close. Her mother stared at the human doctor in amazement. "Thank you," the mother whispered. Dr. Choi Jae-ho smiled and continued following the group toward the ship's medical bay. In the engine room, Park So-young studied the Zephyrian power systems with professional interest. The crystalline cores were elegant, more efficient than human fusion reactors. But 3 of the 5 cores had cracked during the engine failure. "Can you fix it?" asked Kinda, the Zephyrian chief engineer. Park So-young nodded. "Yes, but I need to understand your crystal matrix alignment first. Can you show me the technical specifications?" Kinda hesitated. Sharing technical information with aliens was against regulations. But his people were dying, and this human engineer seemed to know what she was doing. "Here," he said, bringing up the technical displays. Park So-young studied the information quickly. "I see the problem. The harmonic resonance cascade caused feedback in the secondary crystals. We can fix this, but we need to work together. Mond. Unresonance. Together? Your people understand the crystal technology better than we do. My people understand emergency repairs. Together, We can save your ship. Meanwhile, supply shuttles from the human fleet began delivering food, water, and medical supplies to the Time's gentle current asterisk. Zephyrian civilians watched in confusion as humans carried boxes of supplies through their corridors. No one demanded payment. No one asked for anything in return. Commander Velka found herself in her ready room with Admiral Lee Minjun. The human admiral sat across from her, drinking Zephyrian tea that his people had somehow procured. "I don't understand," Velka said finally. "Every story we hear about humans describes your people as conquerors, ruthless warriors who show no mercy." Lee Minjun considered this. "Commander, may I ask what you know about Earth? It is a death world, the most dangerous planet in known space. It created the most feared warriors in the galaxy." "Earth is dangerous," Lee Minjun agreed. "Earthquakes, storms, predators, diseases. Everything on our world tries to kill us. But do you know what that taught us?" Velka shook her head. "It taught us that life is precious, that we must protect each other to survive. The same dangers that made us strong also made us protective of those who cannot protect themselves." Velka stared at the human admiral. This was not what the stories said about the Dreadworlder fleet. "Your people call us warriors," Lee Minjun continued. "And we are. But we fight to protect, not to conquer. Every ship in my fleet is named for compassion, healing, or hope. We are the Dreadworlder fleet because we will face any terror to help those in need." Outside, human and Zephyrian teams work together to repair the colony ship and care for its people. Two very different species, united by the simple idea that neighbors should help neighbors in times of trouble. 6 hours after the first human shuttle docked, the Time's gentle current times buzzed with activity. Zephyrian children, who had been crying in fear, now followed human engineers through the corridors, fascinated by the strange tools and equipment. The ship that had been dying in cold space was now warm and bright, with emergency power provided by human generators. Dr. Choi Jae-ho worked in the Zephyrian medical bay, treating injuries from the engine explosions. His human medical team moved alongside Zephyrian doctors, sharing techniques and learning from each other. The language barrier melted away when both species focused on healing the wounded. "Doctor," said Zika, a young Zephyrian medical student, "how did you know to use pressure bandages on our circulatory system?" "Basic trauma care is the same for most species, Doctor," Choi Jae-ho explained as he checked on an elderly patient. "Stop bleeding, prevent shock, keep airways clear. The details change, but the principles stay the same." Zika watched as the human doctor carefully adjusted the IV drip for her patient. His hands were gentle and precise. Nothing like the brutal warriors from the stories. "Doctor, may I ask you something?" "Of course. The stories we hear about humans. They say, your people are violent, that you destroy everything you touch." Dr. Choi Jae-ho paused in his work. "Zika, do you know why I became a doctor? To help people? Yes, but more than that. On Earth, we have a saying, 'First, do no harm.' It means that our first duty is to protect life, not take it. Every human learns this principle, not just doctors." In the engineering section, Park So-young worked alongside Kinda to repair the damaged crystal cores. The Zephyrian engineer had been afraid when the humans first arrived, but now he found himself genuinely enjoying the collaboration. "Your people's approach to engineering is very different from ours," Kinda observed as they calibrated the crystal harmonics. "Different how?" Park So-young asked, not looking up from her work. "Zephyrians prefer elegant solutions. We design systems to be beautiful and efficient. But you, humans, you design systems to last, to work even when everything goes wrong." Park So-young smiled. "On Earth, we have hurricanes, earthquakes, solar flares. Our technology has to work in the worst conditions possible. We learn to build things that don't break easily. And when they do break, we fix them, no matter what. Lieutenant Kim Dong-min approached with a status report. Chief, we've got the secondary crystals stable, but the primary core has stress fractures we can't repair with standard equipment. Kinda's heart sank. Without the primary core, they could only achieve 40% engine power, not enough to reach their destination. But Park So-young was already thinking. Do you have a fabrication bay on this ship? Yes, but we don't have the materials to grow a new crystal core. We don't need to grow one. We can reinforce the existing core with a metallic lattice framework. It won't be as efficient as your original design, but it will hold together long enough to get you home. Is that safe? Safe enough? My grandfather used to fix old Earth automobiles the same way. Sometimes, the patch lasts longer than the original part. Etta. While the engineering teams worked, Captain Jung Seo-yoon visited the passenger areas of the ship. As the fleet's cultural liaison officer, her job was to help different species understand each other. She found herself surrounded by curious Zephyrian children who had never seen a human before. Are you really from the Death World? Asked a small girl named Pika. I am from Earth, yes, Jung Seo-yoon replied gently. Is it scary there? Sometimes. We have dangerous animals and big storms, but it's also very beautiful. She showed them pictures on her tablet, Earth landscapes, cities, oceans. The children gathered around, amazed by the blue skies and green forests. Why are there so many different colors? Pika asked. Earth has many different environments. Deserts, jungles, mountains, oceans. Each place has different life forms adapted to survive there. An older Zephyrian, Tika's grandmother, approached the group. Young human, may I speak with you? Of course, honored elder. The elderly Zephyrian studied Jung Seo-yoon with ancient eyes. I have lived for 300 years. I remember when humans first appeared in our space. The stories said your people conquered entire worlds in a matter of days. We did fight wars, Jung Seo-yoon admitted, but not wars of conquest. We fought against the hive queens who enslaved entire species. We fought against the void hunters who destroyed inhabited worlds for sport. We fought against anyone who preyed on the innocent. But the stories say, stories change as they spread, honored elder. The truth is simpler. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. It is what we do. End of stories. The old Zephyrian nodded slowly. I see that now. In the ship's main dining area, human supply officers distributed food to hungry families. The children, who had been terrified hours earlier, now laughed as they tried Earth foods for the first time. Chocolate was a particular hit. Commander Velka walked through her ship, still struggling to understand what she was seeing. Human warriors shared their meals with Zephyrian civilians. Human doctors sang lullabies to frightened children. Human engineers worked 36 hours straight to repair systems they had never seen before. She found Admiral Lee Min-jun in the observation lounge, looking out at the human fleet. The massive warships hung in space around the colony ship like protective guardians. Admiral, she said, I owe you an apology. For what, Commander? For believing the stories about your people. For thinking you came here to harm us. Lee Min-jun turned to face her. Commander, those stories exist for a reason. When humans fight, we fight with everything we have. When we face an enemy, we can be terrible to behold. But the key word is enemy. And we are not your enemies? You are people in trouble who asked for help. That makes you our responsibility. Responsibility? There is an old Earth saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. Humans have been blessed with strong bodies, advanced technology, and the ability to survive in harsh conditions. We believe that means we have a duty to use those gifts to help others. Velka looked out at the human ships. Your fleet is called the Dreadworlder fleet. But your ships have names like Times, Compassionate Thunder Times, and Times, Healing Hand Asterisk. Velka, we are called Dreadworlders because we will face any dread to protect the innocent. Our ships are named for our true purpose, to bring hope to those who have none. The galaxy fears you. Sometimes fear is useful. Pirates think twice before attacking a convoy if they know humans might respond. Slavers avoid systems under human protection. The reputation serves its purpose. All. But you are not what the reputation suggests. Lee Min-jun smiled. Commander, we are exactly what our reputation suggests. We are the people you want on your side when everything goes wrong. We are the ones who come when you call for help. We are the ones who will never give up, never surrender, and never leave anyone behind. Even aliens you've never met? Especially aliens we've never met. That's when it matters most. As night fell on the ship's chronometer, human and Zephyrian crews worked together under emergency lighting. The repairs were nearly complete. The colony ship that had been dying in space now hummed with renewed life. But more than machinery had been repaired. The Zephyrians were beginning to understand that the most feared species in the galaxy was also the most dependable when you needed help most. As the repairs continued into the second day, Commander Velka found herself in the ship's library with Captain Jung So-yoon. The human cultural officer had requested the meeting to discuss something she called mutual understanding. Commander, Jung So-yoon began, I think it's important that your people understand who we really are. The stories about humans have spread fear throughout the galaxy. But they only tell part of our truth. Velka nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. Please, help me understand. Jung So-yoon activated her tablet, showing images of Earth. You call our world a death world. And you're right. But do you know what makes a death world? Dangerous predators, extreme weather, deadly diseases. Yes. But more than that. Earth teaches harsh lessons every single day. When earthquakes destroy cities, humans dig survivors out of the rubble. When floods destroy homes, humans rescue strangers from rooftops. When diseases spread, humans care for the sick, even when it puts them at risk. The images showed humans helping each other through natural disasters, rescue workers pulling people from collapsed buildings, doctors treating patients during epidemics, ordinary people sharing food during famines. Every challenge on Earth taught us the same lesson. Jung Se-yoon continued. We survive together, or we die alone. No one succeeds by abandoning others. No one lives by letting others die. But the stories about human wars are true. We fought terrible wars on Earth. But do you know what ended those wars? Velka shook her head. We realized that fighting each other was wasting energy we needed to fight our real enemies. Hunger, disease, natural disasters, and ignorance. Once humans learned to work together, we became unstoppable. Jung Se-yoon showed more images. Humans from different continents working together on space stations. Mixed crews on exploration ships. Human cities where dozens of different Earth cultures lived side by side. When we reached the stars, we brought this lesson with us. We didn't come to conquer. We came to protect. Protect what? Life. All life. Everywhere we find it. Velka studied the human woman. The first time humans encountered other species, what did you do? We offered to help. The Centaurons were facing a food shortage on their colony worlds. We shared agricultural technology. The Altarians were being raided by pirates. We helped them build defenses. The vegan traders needed safer hyperspace routes. We mapped them. You asked for nothing in return? We asked for friendship, for trade, for the chance to learn from each other. But we never demanded tribute or submission. Velka was quiet for a long moment. Then why do the stories make you sound like conquerors? Jung Se-yoon's expression grew serious. Because when we do fight, we fight to win. When pirates attacked human shipping, we didn't just drive them off. We hunted down every pirate base in that sector and shut them down permanently. When the Hive Queens tried to enslave the Deltan colonies, we didn't just rescue the Deltans. We followed the Hive Queens back to their home system and ended their empire forever. You destroyed entire civilizations. We destroyed civilizations that existed by destroying others. The Hive Queens had enslaved 43 species. The Void Hunters had exterminated 12 inhabited worlds for entertainment. The Shadow Syndicate sold sentient beings in slave markets across 17 systems. Jung Seo-yoon showed images of human fleets in battle. The ships looked exactly like the ones outside. Dark, heavily armed, and terrifyingly efficient. When humans fight, we don't fight fair, she admitted. We fight to end the fight as quickly as possible. We use every advantage, every weapon, every tactic that will bring peace faster, because every day a war continues, more innocent people die. And that's how you earned the name Dreadworlder Fleet. Partly. But the name means something more. We are the fleet that faces the dread, the terrible things others can't face or won't face. When there's a plague ship drifting through space, we board it to help the sick, even knowing we might catch the disease. When there's a space station about to collapse into a black hole, we go in to rescue survivors even knowing we might not make it out. Jung Seo-yoon closed her tablet and looked directly at Velka. Commander, Earth didn't just make us strong. It made us responsible. Every human child learns that with great power comes great responsibility. We have powerful ships and advanced weapons because sometimes protecting the innocent requires force. But we use that power only to protect, never to conquer. Your ships have names like Time's Compassionate Thunder *, because that's what we are. Thunder is powerful, frightening, unstoppable. But compassion guides where that power goes. We thunder across space to help those who need us. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Park So-young was explaining the same philosophy to Kinda and his team. On Earth, she said as they worked on the final crystal core repairs, we have a saying, leave no one behind. It means we never abandon anyone who needs help. Even your enemies? Kinda asked. We've rescued pirates after their ships were damaged. We've provided medical aid to soldiers who were shooting at us hours before. Once the fighting stops, there are no enemies. Only people who need help. Lieutenant Kim Dong-min looked up from his work. My grandfather fought in the Titan War. He told me about rescuing enemy survivors from a burning space station. Some of those enemy soldiers later became his closest friends. How is that possible? Asked a young Zephyrian engineer. Because most people don't really want to fight, Park So-young explained. They fight because they're afraid, or hungry, or desperate. Once you remove the reason for fighting, most people just want to live in peace with their families. In the medical bay, Dr. Choi Jae-ho was teaching Zephyrian doctors about trauma surgery techniques. Doctor, asked Zika, how do humans stay so calm during medical emergencies? Practice. Dr. Choi Jae-ho replied. But also, philosophy. We believe that every life is precious. When you truly believe that, you'll do anything to save a life. Fear becomes less important than duty. Duty. The duty to help. Every human doctor takes an oath. First, do no harm. But there's an unspoken second part. Second, do everything possible to help. He showed them a small pin on his uniform, a symbol of Earth Medical Service. This pin means I have sworn to provide medical care to anyone who needs it. Human, alien, friend, enemy. It doesn't matter. If someone is hurt, I help them. Meanwhile, in the passenger areas, human crew members continued sharing meals and stories with Zephyrian families. The children who had been terrified 2 days ago now played games with their new human friends. Captain Jung Seo-yoon found herself back in the library that evening with a group of curious Zephyrians, adults this time, including Commander Velka. "Captain," said an elderly male named Korda, "I have a question that troubles me." "Please ask." "If humans are as you describe, why doesn't the galaxy know this? Why do the stories paint you as monsters?" Jung Seo-yoon considered the question carefully. "Partly because people fear what they don't understand. Humans look different, act different, think different from most species, but mostly because the galaxy only hears about us when something dramatic happens." Dramatic? When we destroy a pirate fleet, everyone hears about it. When we quietly deliver medical supplies to a plague-stricken world, no one reports it. When we fight a war, the battles make great stories. When we prevent a war through diplomacy, it's boring news. So the truth is hidden by more exciting lies? Not lies exactly. The dramatic stories are true. Humans can be terrible in battle when we need to be. But they're incomplete. They don't show the other 99% of what we do. Commander Velka spoke up. "What about your military? Your warships are clearly designed for combat." "Yes, because sometimes combat is necessary. But look at our fleet carefully, Commander. How many of our ships are pure warships?" Velka thought about it. The Times Compassionate Thunder Times is a command ship with medical and engineering capabilities. The Times Healing Hand Times is primarily a hospital ship. The Times Gentle Builder Times is an engineering vessel. Exactly. Even our most powerful ships are designed to build and heal first. Fight only when necessary. We could build fleets of pure destroyers, but we choose not to. We prefer ships that can create, rather than just destroy. "And that's why you came when we called for help?" "That's what we do," Jung Seo-yoon said simply. "Someone needs help. We provide it. It's not complicated." As the evening wore on, more Zephyrians joined the discussion. They asked about Earth, about human culture, about the philosophy that guided human actions across the galaxy. Jung Seo-yoon answered every question with patience and honesty. She told them about human art, human music, human dreams of exploring the stars not to conquer them, but to find new friends among them. "We call ourselves the Dreadworlder fleet," she said as the night grew late. "Not because we bring dread to others, but because we are willing to face any dread to help those who need us. Earth taught us that the strongest person is not the one who can hurt others, but the one who will risk everything to protect others." Commander Velka looked around at her people. Engineers, doctors, civilians, children. All listening intently to the human, explaining how a death world had created the galaxy's most dependable protectors. For the first time since the engines failed, Velka felt truly safe. 3 days after the human fleet arrived, the Times Gentle Current Times hummed with healthy power. All 5 crystal cores glowed with steady light. The fusion reactors ran smoothly. The ship that had been dying in cold space was now ready to continue its journey to the new world. Commander Velka stood in her engineering section with Chief Engineer Park So-young, watching the final system checks. The human engineer had worked non-stop to save their ship, and now she was preparing to leave as quietly as she had arrived. "Your modifications to our crystal matrix are remarkable," Kinda said, checking the power readings. "The system is actually more efficient than our original design." Park So-young smiled tiredly. "Sometimes a different perspective helps. Your crystalline technology taught us new things too. We'll be improving our own fusion systems based on what we learned here." "You learned from us?" Velka asked, surprised. "Of course. Every species has something to teach. Zephyrians understand harmonic engineering better than any species we've met. Altarians are masters of gravitational physics. Centaurons have revolutionized biological medicine. Humans are good at emergency repairs and defensive systems. But we're always learning from others. The stories never mention that humans learn from other species. The stories miss a lot of important details," Park So-young said, packing up her tools. "Commander, your ship is ready for full power flight. The crystal cores should hold for decades with proper maintenance. In the medical bay, Dr. Choi Jae-ho finished his final patient rounds. All the injured Zephyrians were healing well. More importantly, the human and Zephyrian medical teams had shared enough knowledge to benefit both species for years to come. Doctor, Zika said, as they completed the inventory of shared medical supplies. Thank you for teaching us your trauma techniques. Thank you for teaching us about Zephyrian circulatory systems. The knowledge exchange was valuable for both sides. Will we see human medical ships again? Whenever you need them. The Deep Space Medical Service monitors distress calls from all species. If any Zephyrian ship ever needs medical help, we'll be there. Quote, while B space. Quote CS. The Filators, wild. Zika looked at the small collection of Earth medical instruments that Dr. Choi Jae-ho had given to their medical team as gifts. The galaxy should know about this. About what? About who you really are. About what the Dreadworlder fleet actually does. Dr. Choi Jae-ho smiled. Actions speak louder than words, young doctor. People will learn the truth when they need us, and we come to help. Captain Jung Seo-yoon gathered with the Zephyrian leadership team in their conference room for the final briefing. Admiral Lee Min-jun joined them via video link from his flagship. Commander Vel-ka, the admiral said, your ship is fully operational. My engineering teams confirm that all systems are running within normal parameters. You're ready to continue to your new home. Admiral, how can we repay this kindness? There is no debt between neighbors, Lee Min-jun replied. When you encounter other species who need help, provide it if you can. That's how kindness spreads across the galaxy. We will remember. And Commander, when you reach your new world, if you ever need help again, call us. The human fleet will always answer. Young Naka, the junior officer who had cried when the human ships first appeared, spoke up nervously. Admiral, what if other species don't believe us when we tell them what really happened here? Lee Min-jun smiled. Officer Naka, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. Just tell the truth about what you experienced. Truth has a way of spreading when people really need it. Onio. Kritu. As the human teams prepared to return to their ships, emotional farewells took place throughout the time's gentle, current asterisk. Human and Zephyrian engineers exchanged technical manuals. Medical teams shared research notes. Even the children who had played together exchanged small gifts and promises to stay in touch via interstellar communications. Paika, the little girl who had been terrified of the Death World monsters, now clung to Captain Jung Seo-yoon's leg. Do you have to go? The child asked. We have to go help other people who need us. Jung Seo-yoon explained gently. But we'll never forget you, Pika. And if you ever need us again, we'll come back. Promise? I promise. The little girl handed Jung Seo-yoon a small crystal flower she had made in the ship's workshop. This is... so... you remember us too. I'll treasure it always. Elder Tika's grandmother approached Jung Seo-yoon as the humans prepared to depart. Young human, the old Zephyrian said, I want to apologize. For what? Honored elder? For 300 years, I've told my family stories about the terrifying humans from the Death World. Stories about monsters who conquer everything they touch. I was wrong. You weren't wrong about everything, honored elder. We are from a Death World. We are dangerous when we need to be. Those parts of the stories are true. But you're not monsters. No, we're not monsters. We're guardians. The old Zephyrian nodded slowly. I understand now. The same strength that makes you dangerous also makes you protective. Earth made you strong enough to help others, not just strong enough to hurt them. That's exactly right. I will tell new stories to my great-grandchildren. True stories. About the day the Dreadworlder fleet came to save us. As the human shuttles departed, Commander Vel-ka stood on her bridge, watching the massive human warships prepare to leave. Admiral Lee Min-jun appeared on her main screen one final time. Safe travels, Commander. May your new world bring your people happiness and prosperity. Thank you, Admiral, for everything. Remember, Commander, humans are always listening for distress calls. You're never truly alone in space as long as the human fleet patrols these stars. The communication ended. One by one, the 12 human ships began moving away from the Time's gentle current asterisk. The dark, menacing warships that had terrified Velka 3 days ago now looked like protective guardians returning to their patrol. Set course for our destination, Velka ordered. Full power to the engines. Yes, Commander, replied her helmsman, course laid in. As the Time's gentle current times resumed its journey, Velka composed a message to send ahead to their new colony world. She wanted the settlement administrators to know what had happened, and more importantly, who had helped them. But she also composed another message, this one for the Zephyrian High Council and the Interspecies Communication Network. A detailed report about their encounter with the human Dreadworlder fleet. Not the terrifying monsters from the stories, but the actual humans who had risked their lives to help strangers. The message would spread throughout Zephyrian space, then to their trade partners, then to the broader galactic community. Other species would read about human medical teams that worked around the clock to help alien patients, about human engineers who shared advanced technology freely, about human warriors who used their strength to protect, not conquer. Week by week, month by month, the truth about the Dreadworlder fleet began spreading through the galaxy's communication networks. And slowly, something remarkable started happening. More distress calls began reaching human space. Not just from ships in trouble, but from colonies facing natural disasters, from species dealing with plagues, from governments struggling with hostile neighbors. Each time, the human response was the same. We're on our way. The feared reputation of the Dreadworlder fleet gradually transformed into something entirely different. Yes, they were still the most powerful military force in known space. Yes, they were still the most dangerous enemies that pirates and slavers could face. But now, the galaxy also knew them as the most dependable friends that peaceful species could find. When disaster struck, when hope seemed lost, when all seemed dark, the call went out across the cosmos. Send for the humans. And they always came. Commander Velka never forgot the lesson learned during those 3 days when her ship was dying in space. The most frightening beings in the galaxy were also the most caring. The species everyone feared was also the species everyone could trust. On their new world. As the Zephyrian colony grew and prospered, Velka told the story often. She told it to children who had never heard of humans. She told it to traders from distant systems. She told it to anyone who would listen. The story always ended the same way. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark of space, with nowhere to turn and no hope left, remember this. Somewhere out there, the Dreadworlder fleet is listening. And if you call for help, they will come. This was the truth about the humans from Earth. Not conquerors or monsters, but the galaxy's most reliable guardians. The species that would face any danger, travel any distance, and risk everything to help those who needed them. The Dreadworlder fleet. Terrifying to their enemies, but the most welcome sight in the universe for anyone calling for help.